Welcome to Sykes, the Bottom Line Pharmacy Podcast, your regular dose of pharmacy CPA advice to fuel your bottom line, featuring pharmacists, key vendors, and other innovators.
Your checks, yes, you can call me, because we the best, Sykes and Company. We the best, Sykes and Company. Your accounting is a mess, there's no need for you to stress. Go online and request from the best. We the best, Sykes and Company. We the best, Sykes and Company, yes.
What's new, Darin? The pharmacy world, ScriptPro.
It's that time of year. People are worried about, do they make decisions now? Do they hold off? There's all kinds of things going on that are, people are scared to make decisions. They don't know what it's going to look like down the road. And, it's one of those things where it's the same cycle, right? This happens every 4 years. Every 4 years, every year there's a presidential election. We go through a stage where there's uncertainty and people are trying to figure out which way it's going to go. And it hasn't changed the fact that automation makes more sense now than it ever has. They're still paying people more than they ever have, and they're going to continue to pay more. And I think people are really starting to understand those dynamics are not going to go away.
Well, it's been a tough year. It's been a crazy year, but at the same time, I mean, I've had 3 calls today, and all 3 of the clients that I've had calls with today have had an awesome 24.
Yeah.
And that's the conversations we're having right now is automation. So it's because we're looking at tax planning. That's big for us, obviously, right now, the last quarter of the year, looking at, like you said, kind of what kind of income we have flowing through to these for people, to their personal returns, and what we can do to mitigate and what they need.
Mm-hmm.
You guys still able to get these things in service before the end of the year? If people are.
Yeah, we can. And we'll run up against the deadline. We're a little bit different.
Yeah.
We manufacture from the time of the order, but we've put a process in place, and I believe Allen helped us develop it years and years and years ago with the test and validations, which allows us to do testing and consider it deemed installed at the pharmacy. So they still are able to take advantage of their tax breaks, and we're willing to work all the way through that.
Yeah, and something about the pharmacies on the fence, not knowing the uncertainty. Taxes are definitely changing next year, one way or another, somehow, some way. But even if you've had a down year, there may be instances where if you need automation, and you can still take advantage of some tax breaks, even in a down year, to create losses and offset other income to get a bigger refund back in your pocket. So there's some, people don't think that I don't have income.
Right.
But no, you don't have income, but create a loss and get more money back that you've paid in could be an option. If the planning's right for your situation, but, I don't think a lot of people think of that, but
that's a great point, Scotty. I've got a client the same way. They don't necessarily need it, but they need it for payroll purposes and for efficiency purposes.
Right.
And they're in a position, the cash flow position, to do that. And so they're trying to figure out, do it. You're having this. They want to do it, so it's like, do we do it in 24? Do we wait and do it in 25? So it's those sorts of conversations too. But it's.
Sorry, Bonnie.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
When you guys look at like Section 179, right, and that's going to continue to go down year after year after year, I believe that's correct, right? It's 80% this year.
Well, that's special depreciation.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Which is different than 179.
That's the bonus depreciation.
Right.
The bonus/special.
Yeah.
You have the bonus/special interchangeably, and then you have the 179.
Gotcha.
So the key things here is they both allow, up until last year, they allowed 100% write-off of the purchase up to certain limits, which nobody ever hits those limits. They're for big, big, big businesses. But 179 is still 100% write-off. Bonus/special is down to 60% write-off. It was 80% last year, 60% this year, 40% next year. So 40% write-off. You can use a mixture of the two to write off, But the thing with special is that if you are in a loss situation or break-even situation, you can use special to create a bigger loss. Section 179 may have some limits there. You can't push that with perhaps 179 to the degree maybe you can with special bonus. So, and the state, how the states handle special versus 179 may be different from federal.
Yeah.
It may be special has they copy special, but they don't copy 179 or vice versa. So you'll have an add back on the state side. So you got to plan the state side of it as well, which, hopefully CPAs out there are doing for the clients. But
usually in the pharmacies, most retail pharmacies, between the special and the 179, when we're looking at a robot purchase, you can normally get, have the ability to get that thing written off in the year purchase if you want to do it, to use it. Or you can save some of it if you need to. We've done that, for the next year, even whatever you want to do. But yeah, so we definitely got a lot of people kind of looking and thinking, and you're going to be at NCPA?
We will be at NCPA, right? Yeah. Yeah, we're. I think that's my last opportunity to be at a conference this year, so I'm looking forward to that. And it's always a good group, and same thing. We're going to see lots of education around it, and there'll be a lot of classes around it. I know this will be a topic of discussion with a lot of different people throughout that weekend.
The ScriptPro lineup. I mean, you got the SP200, you got the 150, you got what else you got there?
Well, Scotty, we've got 6 different sizes. We go from an SP50, an SP100, and SP200.
Yeah.
We have a CRS 75, a CRS 150, and a CRS 225. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution for any pharmacy. Every pharmacy is different. Their footprints are different. Their workflows are different. The price points are different. There's a different price point along the way, and so every pharmacy has different objectives that they want to accomplish when they automate in their store. Some of them may want a robot to do as many prescriptions as they possibly can. Well, that's going to lean more toward one of our SP200s or our CRS 225s. Some people want to get the biggest return on their investment in the pharmacy, and having the robot do some work for them. And generally in my retail pharmacies, that tends to land people around our CRS 150. It's 150 up to 150 NDCs. We see a really steep decline when the higher the NDC numbers go up. There's a steep decline between how much a robot actually does from drug number 151 to drug number 225. The majority of the work takes place in those first 130 to 150 medications that you have in your robot. So sometimes bigger isn't always better. It really depends on what the pharmacy wants. Yeah, and what you're trying to accomplish. Darin,
I work with a lot of startups. They're all that are doing really well, and it's always kind of a question that I get a lot of. When do you start looking at automation and robots? Like, is there a key? I know it's a famous question, but like, at what level do you get to where you feel like you need to start? It makes sense to look at that.
Yeah, Bonnie, I don't know that there's really a number,
right?
A prescription volume number. I think that it more falls in line with what's your workflow like? Are you falling behind? Have you reached a point where you have to hire another person? Some of our states have really strict pharmacist to technician ratios. So a lot of times they have to hire another person, but because of the ratios, the next person has to be a pharmacist. And that pharmacist is going to cost $120,000 to $130,000 a year.
Right.
Well, if you need a tech, but you have to hire a pharmacist, it makes a lot more sense to automate because it's a lot cheaper. Your return on investment's much quicker. Or if you just have to hire a tech, I've been talking with people recently in California, New York, and some large areas, and they're paying $25 to $30 an hour base rate for technicians.
Yeah.
When you put taxes and benefits on top of that, fully loaded, they're in the 40s. That's $80,000 a year. When you break down the cost of a robot, and I'll use our CRS 150 as an example, and you look at it over 5 years, it's going to cost about $13.50 an hour, give or take. to operate, and it's going to fill about 45% of your prescription volume.
What
Kind of makes sense.
Darren, what AI are y'all using? Any AI technology now? Are y'all looking to add any components of that? I mean, is there any? How's that playing out for you? Because I know that's a big piece now in the world.
Scotty, I honestly don't know the answer to that at this point. Most of that, a lot of that's being done on the software side versus the technology, the hardware side.
Right.
And the way that the robotics work is it's just an interface between the robot and the pharmacy software. And basically the software is telling our robot to fill the prescription.
Yeah.
So from an artificial intelligence perspective, we're always looking at new things and trying to update and make our systems better. But I can't really answer that question.
Yeah.
Well, Scotty and I were talking about AI. We were looking at yesterday. There's supposedly in the next year or two, there's supposed to be babysitters you can get. I mean,
Bonnie's already pre-ordered one for her.
Well, Scotty said he was going to get 2 or 3, but it's kind of scary. It was a robot. It could babysit.
The Tesla Optimus.
The Tesla companion robot.
Mm-hmm. And you walk the dog, babysit the kids, and clean your house for $30,000. I don't know how many I'll need, but sounds pretty good.
That's about 15 years too late for me. I could have used that a long time ago.
I joke, but things are going to this. It's kind of scary, but at the same time, you got to know that even in the pharmacy world, there's going to be just mind-blowing things that are bound to pop out with this kind of thing. So
we were having a discussion internally with just some general things the other day as well, and it depends on what career choices you're making, right? So if it involves writing, journalism, those kind of things, or advertising in a way that uses or picture making, and I speak because I have stepchildren that are in these fields, and it's really hard for them to find work right now in the field that they went to school for. And I think part of it is because of a lot of the AI that's being used, and it's changing those industries.
Absolutely. Yep. Even in our accounting industry, it's the same way. When you're looking at entry-level data entry type things, in the next few years, that's going to be gone. So you really got to start looking beyond that, the next steps,
Well, I think that translates to our pharmacies just in general, right? We've been talking, and I know we've had the discussion before. If pharmacies are using technicians to count by 5 and count prescriptions, they're missing out on a lot of things that are available to them in the pharmacy from a revenue generation perspective.
Yep. There's other things those people can be doing.
That's right.
Yeah. You have to be doing anything but that.
That's right.
You got to be growing that pharmacy, thinking of what else you can do, taking care of your patients, bringing in more patients, whatever it is. Can't be doing that compliance type task, being a pharmacy owner. What about, Darin, what about you seeing Walgreens shutting down? You got Walgreens 1,200, you got CVS 900. Rite Aid, how many was Rite Aid?
500 and just emerged from their bankruptcy filing.
So 500.
Yeah.
So you got all these stores shutting down. That's a lot of opportunity for pharmacies out there that are doing it and doing it right.
Yeah, especially independent pharmacies, right? If they're in areas that those things are taking place, I'll use the state of Ohio and Michigan for example. Rite Aid closed every single store in those two states, every single store, and that those patients have to go somewhere. So if a pharmacy is ready and geared up to take on those patients and service those patients, and able to handle the additional prescription volume, then I think there's a lot of opportunity for growth. And it's not just those pharmacies, it's not just the chains. We're seeing consolidation on the independent side as well. We're seeing some that are going away, and some of our rural communities may be serviced by 2 or 3 or 4 independent retail pharmacies, and maybe they don't all make it, but if one doesn't make it, the other 2 or 3 get stronger.
Right.
And you have to be able to handle that growth.
There's a lot of opportunity out there for that right now. We're seeing it.
Yeah, and it'll
automation is the way to go.
Yeah, and it'll be
That's the
interesting
door.
to see how that plays out, right? Using Walgreens as an example, they seem like they built a pharmacy on every corner, and
Everywhere.
especially in large metropolitan areas. So if they close one on First Street and there's one on Third Street, does that make a big impact on, how does that work? Do they just seamlessly transfer over a couple of blocks and go to the next location? It'll be really interesting to see what the retention rate is in some of those areas.
Imagine it won't be too different in some of those areas. But I know we got a Walgreens here in little old Edenton who, I mean, shoot, Bonnie, their pharmacy's closed all the time.
They can't keep a pharmacist in there.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
So they're just like closed. I obviously do not use them, but if I'm in Walgreens for something else, you'll see that there's a sign like no pharmacist today. Like, that's a whole nother problem.
Sure.
But yeah, it's crazy. I'm working with a startup.
I had to use that Walgreens one time. I think it was for my wife's something. I don't know, something once here couldn't.
Yeah.
And it was one of the worst experiences I've ever had. And I don't know how people deal with that. I mean, it was
I agree.
mind-blowing
I see people on social media complaining about Walgreens or whoever all the time, and I'm just like, why are you going there? Like, why are you going there? You have an independent. Go there.
Well, I think the reality of that, Bonnie, is in some places they don't have another option, right? Like
this is my personal location. There is there's another option.
Yeah. So in mine, where I live, I have a CVS and a Walgreens within 2 blocks of where I live. But I don't have an independent pharmacy within 15 miles and 27 stoplights.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so that makes it hard to find those locations and seek when you seek them out.
But I've got a startup that I've been working with for about 6 months, and he was doing well anyway. But he had a Walgreens one across the street, and that one closed. And he is drowning in a good way.
Sure.
But, they're pouring in there, and he's like, what the heck? So the growth is crazy. So he's having to hire staff. He's getting a robot. He's trying to get it all worked out. But it's a good problem to have. But
That's right.
Yeah, it's definitely, I've seen it firsthand. It's kind of crazy.
Live Oak Bank has those express loans up to 500. You get funded in 2 weeks, something like that. Approved in 2 weeks, funded in 2 weeks, something like that.
Do it all online.
Yep.
How about you? You guys, Darin, do you have any sort of any decent financing or lease options?
Yeah, we do. We've got a partner that we started working with that is doing some of our capital leases. They're doing a 10% initial payment, and it's 4.9% for 60 months.
Not bad.
They'll also do an option where it's basically $99 a month for the first 6 months, and that rate's at 7.5%. So it gives people the opportunity to kind of
breathing room.
Yeah, figure out what their cash flow is, moves them up to tax day, really, where they understand that they're not going to have to write that extra check at the end of the year and get some money back possibly, and allows them to have some breathing room to manage cash flow moving forward as well.
And get the system moving and learn it and get it going in the system. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Speaking of capital leases, going to plug our other podcast, Master the Margin, where we actually talk about capital leases for pharmacies. Plug that. Sorry, Bonnie, go ahead.
Always. No, I was just going to say I ran a schedule this morning, with the capital leases. Sometimes you have to back into the interest rates because they don't give you that. They give you the payment. So I did that for a guy this morning. It was at the 9%. So, hey, that sounds better than that one. I won't say whose it was, but that was better.
Well, we look for, we're a family-owned company, and we try to find the best possible solution. And I miss the days of free money and 0% and 1.9%.
Oh man, those were the days.
They were the days for sure. But I think we've got a good option for people right now that allows them to be below market rate, spread the payments out, And we're seeing people probably more than I've ever seen. And I don't know if it was a result of what they were doing last year in preparation for the DIR double dip, but some of the individuals have gotten themselves into a really strong cash position, and we're seeing more people just write checks out upright or out in front of the whole thing, so they don't have to worry about interest rates and payments and those kind of things as well.
You got the cash and you got the balance sheet strength, why not?
I'd like to be in that position.
Oh yeah.
Not a lot of pharmacies in that position. Cash flow is always tight in pharmacy, as we know, and but there's definitely some out there that do have those strong balance sheets. That's for sure.
Sure. Well, and Scotty, you mentioned it, right? The two most expensive things in your pharmacy, the three, are your building, your inventory, and your labor. And you got to be able to find ways to control. You can't control the building. It's already there. It's usually set. You can't control what you're getting paid from insurance companies. Your inventory fluctuates, but you can control what you're spending on labor.
Yep.
Absolutely.
To a large degree.
I'm excited to
Larger
see what
degree, I guess, than everything else.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what the NCPA Digest shows us for some of those items here in the next few weeks. Payroll being one of those, what that kind of was for last year. I'm assuming higher than normal.
Yeah, it's got to be, right? The payroll has to be higher. I think I'm more interested to see what the head count or the store count is.
Yeah.
As we move forward, what that looked like over the past 12 months. That's the first stop I make when I get to the NCPA show.
Yeah.
I go grab that.
Me too.
We do too.
The digest and start pouring through it to see what we're looking at.
Yeah, it's always good to get.
It's a good,
How's
great
baseball
resource.
going, Darin?
Baseball was good. Ryan he got cleared by his surgeon, so he's fully released now. He had an opportunity to pitch in a couple of tournaments, just real light, couple innings here and there, just to get his feet wet again. He's shut down now. As it gets into the fall and the winter stuff, he'll start continuing his rehab, getting his strength and conditioning back, and start to work on his arm. But he threw really well. Even not throwing for 8 months, his velocity was up from where we left it. So he was about 88 to 90 this fall. So he's excited. He's healing. Just he missed the whole year. So it'll be he's chomping at the bit for March.
He made it through. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of those things, right? We all have those times where you just don't know and you just keep going.
That's right.
So yeah, it was a slow year for me. It's probably the most boring summer I've had. I'm a baseball guy through and through, and I would spend, if I could, probably every night at the baseball field watching my kids play. And with him not being on the road and at tournaments this summer, it was only trade shows for me. I didn't even get to take a break.
I know when you're busy like that, you kind of think, oh, it'd be nice to have some time. And then something like that happens, and you're like, what do I do? I'm so bored.
I know.
It's a different world nowadays, because when I was growing up, I don't remember doing any. We may have soccer every now and again, but that was like it. I mean, these kids nowadays, it's like game, practice.
Yeah, Scotty, the interesting thing, like with Ryan, is the travel teams, the teams that have play really good baseball. The kids do their work on their own most of the time. They may have a practice on a Monday or Tuesday, but that's when they just got back into town on a Sunday night. And then they leave again on a Thursday, and they'll play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and come back to town. And we do the whole thing all over again. And we do that for 8 weeks in a row from June to August.
It's a lot.
It is. I'd planned out my schedule before he got hurt. And, the way my trade shows lined up, I was at a trade show one weekend. I'd come home, I'd grab the other suitcase, and I'd be in Atlanta for a tournament the next weekend. And I'd come home and I'd grab the other suitcase and go back to another trade show. And I literally had 8 weeks of back and forth planned for the summer between baseball and trade shows. And I didn't get the baseball piece. It just was the trade show piece this year.
Road warrior right there. Seasoned vet.
Darin, we complain about our travel. We don't have anything on Darin.
No.
I don't know. Y'all do a lot of. You guys
You've
do
been
a lot.
you've been to like every state and then driven through all those states.
Trying to think. My kids and I were talking about this the other day, Scotty. So I haven't done Hawaii, and I don't do Alaska. I have not been to Montana for work or Idaho for work. And I
Everywhere else?
think I've been in every other state. Yep.
Tell you what I have not been in is Ohio. I've been to Ohio for something else, but not for a trade show.
I've been to Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
And their barbecue is not as good as our barbecue.
Oh my gosh.
I can tell you that because I tried it myself.
I thought we were going to be friends. Like
this, was that last year, Kansas City last year or the year before?
Was it 2 years ago?
It was 2 years ago.
It was 2 years ago.
Yeah, we went to a couple barbecue places while we were there.
Well, barbecue is a general term in Kansas City, right? It covers all kinds of different meats.
Well, we do it. Yeah. So in Kansas City, they'll do pork. They'll smoke pork. They'll smoke
brisket,
beef.
We had beef. We had ribs.
Where you guys, it's pork, right?
It's
pork.
It's only pork. Yeah. There's no beef.
No
so
beef.
Like Texas does beef.
Yep.
There's not a lot of pork on the smokers in Texas, and so Kansas City does a little bit of both. And we do a lot with dry rubs. Our sauces are different. You guys, I can't do the vinegar.
So we don't do sauce.
Love it.
Well, our state's completely split in half.
Right.
Western part of the state is a saucy, sweet barbecue, and Scotty makes his own. I owe you $50 for one of those, by the way.
I gave you your bottles. Didn't
I don't have a bottle. Mm-mm.
So you gave me the money, and I didn't give you your barbecue sauce.
I haven't paid you yet.
I don't think you went to the right barbecue places then when you were here.
I'm messing. It was good. Don't get me wrong.
I'll eat any of it. I'm like, whatever. I eat everything.
Yeah.
I love some brisket though, because actually we got a place here that
we had some cornbread that was really good while we were there. You remember that? It was like in a cake in a dish, almost like a.
Was it like a jalapeno cornbread?
Yes.
Did you go to Jack Stack?
Yes.
I think we did.
It was near the towards the
down by the plaza.
We went. I think we did go to what you say, Jack Stack or something like that.
I think that's where we did go. Yeah.
I think we went there.
So Jack Stack has great sides. Their cornbread, their cheesy corn.
Yeah.
They're known for their burnt ends, which is the end of the brisket.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've had a lot of visitors from North Carolina that I take to have barbecue. They all go back wanting me to ship more to them. Mm-hmm. Just saying.
They're probably from the western part of the state.
Don't even get me started on Western style barbecue, North Carolina barbecue.
Well, what's interesting too is that I have a hard time sometimes ordering steak in other parts of the country as well. Because in Kansas City, we get grass-fed beef, and that's what one of the things we're known for is the beef and the steak and everything. So sometimes you go to other places, it's hard to get a good steak compared to what we can have just about every day.
Now, we don't have that problem because little old Edenton here doesn't even have a steakhouse. So we get on the road, it's like, give me some steak.
You've gone to every place that you could probably go.
Yeah, I remember that was the first thing. I think Olin used to have reservations in advance at the steakhouses.
Oh yeah,
pretty much going to a steakhouse. Like, we don't get steak around here.
Yeah, see, we don't get
seafood.
We don't get seafood. So when I get out,
all the fresh seafood you want.
Mm-hmm. That's for sure.
Surf and turf.
Well, Darin, appreciate you getting on.
For sure. I appreciate you guys having
me with us and chatting a little bit about automation, robots, planning, some barbecue. And guess we'll see you next week.
I will be there. You know,
week in a couple of days.
Yep.
if y'all have any questions or somebody's looking to have a chat, feel free to reach out to me. I'm easy to get a hold of at ScriptPro, and looking forward to seeing everybody in a couple of weeks, or I guess it's a week now, isn't it?
Well, Bonnie, we got the workshop in about a week.
I leave Wednesday.
So a week from today.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, travel safe,
Okay.
Darin. We'll see you down there. Appreciate everybody listening in.
Yes.